The unwanted bride. The church bells rang like a funeral march. Isabella stood before the mirror in her wedding dress, but she felt no joy. The white silk felt heavy on her shoulders, like chains pulling her down. Today, she would marry a man she had never met. A man everyone whispered about in fear. Her mother touched her shoulder gently. "You look beautiful, my darling." Isabella tried to smile, but tears filled her eyes. "Mother, please. There must be another way to save our family." "There is no other way." Her mother's voice was firm but sad. "Your father owes Duke Blackwood a great debt. This marriage will clear everything. You are saving us all, Isabella." Saving them. The words felt bitter in her mouth. Her younger sister Elena had made terrible choices, gambling away money that wasn't hers. Their father had borrowed from Duke Adrian Blackwood to cover the scandal. Now the price was Isabella's freedom. #meeting the Duke. The wedding ceremony passed like a dark dream. Isabella barely remembered walking down the long aisle. She remembered only the moment she saw him. Duke Adrian Blackwood stood at the altar, tall and handsome, but something was wrong. His eyes were cold and empty like winter ice. His skin was pale, too pale for a living man. When he took her hand, his touch was freezing. "I do," he said when asked if he took Isabella as his wife. His voice sounded hollow, as if coming from far away. When it was Isabella's turn, she hesitated. Everyone in the church seemed to hold their breath. She looked at her family in the front row. Her father's worried face. Her mother's pleading eyes. And Elena, her beautiful sister, who looked away with guilt written all over her face. "I do," Isabella whispered. The priest declared them husband and wife. Adrian lifted her veil with mechanical movements. When he kissed her, his lips were cold as death. Isabella shivered, not from romance but from fear. #the Castle of Shadows. Blackwood Castle stood on a hill far from the city, surrounded by dark forests. As their carriage arrived, Isabella saw that the castle looked like something from a nightmare. Black stone towers reached toward the cloudy sky. No lights shone in the windows. No servants waited at the door. "Welcome to your new home," Adrian said flatly, helping her down from the carriage. Inside, the castle was even worse. Dust covered everything. Cobwebs hung in the corners. The furniture looked ancient and forgotten. It was like no one had lived here for 100 years. "Where are the servants?" Isabella asked, her voice echoing in the empty halls. "Gone," Adrian replied, walking ahead of her. "They all left years ago. Only Mrs. Thornberry remains, the housekeeper. She will show you to your room." An old woman appeared from the shadows. Mrs. Thornberry had kind eyes but a worried expression. She led Isabella up a winding staircase to a large bedroom. The room was clean, at least, with a big bed and a fireplace. "I lit the fire for you, my lady," Mrs. Thornberry said softly. "You'll need the warmth tonight." "Thank you," Isabella said. "Mrs. Thornberry, can you tell me? Is the Duke ill? He seems so strange." The old woman's face filled with sorrow. "Oh, my poor child. You don't know, do you? Your family didn't tell you the truth about Duke Blackwood. The terrible truth." Mrs. Thornberry sat down heavily in a chair. She looked very tired and very old. 5 years ago, Duke Adrian was different. He was kind and full of life. He was engaged to marry a beautiful young woman. Everyone said they were perfect together. "What happened?" Isabella asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "The night before their wedding, his bride betrayed him. She was secretly in love with another man, a rich merchant. She only wanted Adrian for his title and fortune. When Adrian discovered her lies, his heart broke. But that wasn't the worst part." Mrs. Thornberry's hands trembled. The woman's family practiced dark magic. Her mother was a witch. When Adrian refused to continue with the wedding, the witch cursed him. She said he would never feel warmth again, never feel love, never feel anything but cold emptiness. He would live like a walking ghost until true love broke the curse. Isabella felt shock run through her body. A curse? But curses aren't real. "In this world, they are very real," Mrs. Thornberry said sadly. "I've watched the Duke fade away over the years. He stopped eating, stopped sleeping. He only goes through the motions of living. His heart beats, but he is not truly alive. Who was this woman? Isabella asked, though fear was already building in her chest. What was her name? Mrs. Thornberry looked at her with pity. Her name was Elena. Elena Riverside. Your sister. ## the weight of betrayal. Isabella felt the room spin around her. Elena. Her own sister had destroyed this man. And now Isabella was married to him, paying for Elena's sins. She spent that night alone, crying into her pillow. Adrian never came to her room. Mrs. Thornberry had explained that he never slept, just wandered the castle halls like a ghost. The next morning, Isabella found Adrian in the library. He sat in a chair, staring at nothing, his eyes empty. I know about Elena, Isabella said quietly. I know what she did to you. Adrian didn't look at her. Then you understand why this marriage means nothing. You are here to settle a debt. Nothing more. Did you know who I was when you demanded this marriage? Isabella asked. Did you know I was Elena's sister? For the first time, something flickered in Adrian's eyes. Yes, I knew. Is this revenge then? Marrying me to hurt my family? Perhaps, Adrian said coldly. Or perhaps I simply don't care anymore. One bride is the same as another when you can't feel anything. Isabella felt anger rise in her chest. I am not Elena. I had nothing to do with what she did to you. I am innocent in this. Innocence means nothing, Adrian replied. We all pay for the sins of others. ## the witch's visit. That night, Isabella was reading in her room when the fire suddenly turned green. She jumped up in alarm. From the green flames a woman appeared. She was old and bent, dressed in black robes, with silver hair and eyes that gleamed like a cat's. Do not be afraid, the witch said, her voice like dried leaves rustling. I am Morgana, the one who cursed Duke Adrian. Stay away from me. Isabella grabbed a candlestick as a weapon. The witch laughed, a sound like breaking glass. I mean you no harm, child. I came to give you information. You see, I regret the curse I placed on the Duke. Then remove it, Isabella demanded. I cannot, Morgana said sadly. A curse once spoken cannot be unspoken by the one who cast it. Only true love's sacrifice can break it. That is the law of magic. What kind of sacrifice? Isabella asked, lowering the candlestick slowly. The one who loves him must give up what they value most, Morgana explained. But there is a problem. Adrian cannot feel love anymore. And how can someone love a man who feels nothing? It seems impossible. Why are you telling me this? Isabella asked. Morgana's eyes softened. Because unlike your sister, you have a pure heart. I can see it. You might be the only one who can save him. But know this, child. If you try and fail, the curse will spread to you as well. You will become as cold and empty as he is. Before Isabella could ask more questions, the witch vanished in green smoke. ## a dangerous promise. Isabella spent the next few days thinking hard. She could run away, take some money and leave this cursed castle. No one would blame her. She hadn't asked for any of this. But every time she saw Adrian wandering the halls like a ghost, something hurt inside her chest. He was a victim just like her. Elena had destroyed his life, and now Isabella was paying the price. One evening she found Adrian standing on the castle balcony, looking at the sunset. He didn't seem to see the beautiful colors in the sky. Adrian, she said softly, I want to help you. Help me. He turned to look at her, his expression blank. How? I want to break your curse. For the first time Adrian laughed. It was a terrible sound, empty and bitter. Many have tried. All have failed. Why would you be different? Because I have something they didn't have, Isabella said firmly. I have a reason to fight. My sister destroyed your life. Let me fix what she broke. You'll only destroy yourself, Adrian warned. The witch told you about the risk, didn't she? She did, Isabella admitted. But I'm willing to take that risk. Adrian studied her face for a long moment. Something flickered in his dead eyes. Not warmth, not yet. But perhaps the tiniest spark of curiosity. Why? He asked. Why would you risk yourself for a man you don't even know? A man who can't love you back. Isabella took a deep breath. Because it's the right thing to do. Because you deserve a second chance. And because I refuse to let Elena's cruelty define our lives. ## the first spark. That night marked a change in Blackwood Castle. Isabella didn't try to make Adrian love her. She simply tried to bring life back to the dead halls. She opened the curtains to let in sunlight. She picked flowers from the garden. She asked Mrs. Thornberry to cook warm meals, even though Adrian couldn't taste them. Adrian watched her efforts with confusion. "Why do you do this?" he asked one morning, finding her decorating the dining room with fresh roses. "Because a home should feel alive," Isabella replied. "Even if we don't feel alive yet." "Yet." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "Yet," Isabella repeated firmly. "I believe we can both heal, Adrian. If we try." Adrian turned away, but not before Isabella saw something on his face. Not quite a smile. Not quite hope. But something that wasn't quite as empty as before. Over the following weeks, Isabella learned more about the curse. She read every book in Adrian's library about magic and curses. She wrote letters to scholars and wise women. She was determined to find a way. And slowly, very slowly, Adrian began to change. He started joining her for meals, even if he couldn't taste the food. He listened when she read aloud in the evenings. He even started talking about his life before the curse, sharing memories that were painful but precious. "I used to love music," he told her one night. "I played the piano. But after the curse, I couldn't hear beauty in anything anymore." Isabella went to the old piano in the music room. It was covered in dust. She sat down and played a simple song her mother had taught her. Her playing wasn't perfect, but she played with feeling. Adrian stood in the doorway listening. And for just a moment his expression changed. "Not much, but enough." "That was pleasant," he said quietly. "It wasn't much, but it was something." A tiny crack in the wall of ice around his heart. ## the sister's shadow. Everything changed the day Elena arrived at Blackwood Castle. Isabella was in the garden when she heard the carriage. Her heart sank when she saw her sister step out, dressed in expensive clothes and jewels. "Isabella!" Elena called out with false sweetness. "Dear sister, I had to come see how you're managing in this gloomy place." Isabella felt anger burn in her chest. "You have no right to be here, Elena." Elena's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I have every right. I'm family. I was worried about you married to poor, cursed Adrian. How tragic for you." "You did this to him," Isabella said, her voice shaking. "You destroyed his life." "I did him a favor," Elena replied coldly. "He was too boring, too proper. He deserved what he got for being so dull." Before Isabella could respond, Adrian appeared on the castle steps. When he saw Elena, his entire body went rigid. His face became even paler than usual. "You," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "Get off my property." Elena laughed. "Still angry, Adrian? It's been 5 years. You should be over it by now." "Your mother cursed me to live as a ghost," Adrian said. "I will never be over it." "Well, at least you got a new bride out of it," Elena said mockingly. "My plain little sister. Not as pretty as me, but perhaps more obedient." Isabella stepped forward. "Leave now, Elena. Or I'll have you thrown out." Elena's eyes glittered with malice. "You think you can break his curse? You think your pathetic attempts at kindness will save him? I tried that at first, dear sister. It doesn't work." Adrian was born cold. The curse just made it obvious. "That's not true," Isabella said firmly. "Isn't it?" Elena turned to Adrian. "Tell her, Adrian. Tell her you feel nothing. Tell her she's wasting her time." Adrian was silent for a long moment. Then he looked at Elena with contempt. "I would rather feel nothing forever than feel what I felt when I loved you. You taught me that love is a lie. Isabella is teaching me that kindness is real. I know which lesson I prefer." Elena's face twisted with rage. Without another word, she climbed back into her carriage and left. ## a promise in the dark. That night, Isabella found Adrian alone in his study, staring at the fire. "I'm sorry she came here," Isabella said softly. "Don't be," Adrian replied. "She reminded me of something important." "What's that?" Adrian turned to look at her. In the firelight, his eyes seemed less empty than before. That not all women are like her. That perhaps the curse can be broken after all. Isabella's heart beat faster. Do you really believe that? I'm starting to, Adrian said. Because of you. You've brought light to this dark place, Isabella. I can't feel warmth yet, but I can see it in you. That's more than I've felt in 5 years. Isabella took his cold hand in hers. Then we'll keep trying. Together. Adrian squeezed her hand gently. Together, he agreed. Neither of them knew that Elena was plotting something terrible. Neither of them knew that the hardest part of their journey was still ahead. But in that moment in the firelight, something had changed between them. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was the beginning of something that might become love. A tiny seed of hope planted in frozen ground. And sometimes, hope is all you need to start burning away the darkness. End of part 1. To be continued in part 2. The Quest for Redemption. Part 2. The Quest for Redemption. The Mysterious Letter. 3 weeks after Elena's visit, Isabella woke to find a letter slipped under her bedroom door. The paper was old and yellowed, sealed with black wax. Her hands trembled as she broke the seal. Dear Lady Isabella. I know how to break Duke Adrian's curse. Meet me in the village tonight at midnight. Come to the old church behind the market square. Come alone. Tell no one. A friend. Isabella's heart raced. Could this be real? Or was it a trap? She thought about showing the letter to Adrian, but something stopped her. What if this was her only chance? What if telling anyone would ruin everything? That evening, she told Adrian she was tired and going to bed early. He looked at her with concern in his eyes. Over the past weeks, he had started to show small signs of emotion. Tiny cracks in the ice. Are you well? He asked, touching her forehead gently. You look worried. I'm fine, Isabella lied, hating herself for it. Just tired. She waited in her room until she heard the castle grow quiet. Then she dressed in dark clothes and slipped out through the servants' entrance. Mrs. Thornberry had shown her all the secret passages when she first arrived. The walk to the village took an hour. The night was cold and dark, with only the moon to light her way. Isabella pulled her cloak tight and walked faster. Every shadow seemed dangerous. Every sound made her jump. The secret meeting. The old church stood at the edge of the village, abandoned and falling apart. Weeds grew between the stones. The windows were broken. Isabella pushed open the heavy wooden door, and it creaked loudly in the silence. Inside, candles flickered on the altar. Someone was waiting for her. Hello, Isabella, said a voice from the shadows. Isabella gasped. It was Lady Margaret, an old woman from a noble family who lived near the castle. She was known as a scholar and collector of ancient books. Lady Margaret? You sent the letter. The old woman nodded, her white hair gleaming in the candlelight. I did. I've been studying Duke Adrian's curse for years. I believe I know how to break it. Why didn't you tell him yourself? Isabella asked. Because the solution requires someone who loves him, Lady Margaret explained. And until you came there was no one. His servants care for him, but that's not the same as love. Isabella felt her cheeks grow warm. I don't. I mean, we barely know each other. Lady Margaret smiled kindly. Love doesn't always start with knowing someone, child. Sometimes it starts with choosing to care about them. You've chosen to care about Adrian. That's the beginning of love. Tell me what I need to do, Isabella said firmly. Lady Margaret pulled out an ancient book, its pages brown with age. The curse can be broken with a moonstone crystal. It's a rare magical stone that absorbs dark magic. If you bring it to Adrian during the full moon and place it over his heart, the curse will transfer to the stone and shatter. Where do I find this crystal? Isabella asked. In the dark forest, Lady Margaret said quietly. 3 days' journey from here. The crystal grows in a cave deep in the forest, in a place called the Weeping Springs. But Isabella, you must understand. The dark forest is dangerous. Many who enter never return. Isabella lifted her chin. I'm not afraid. You should be, Lady Margaret warned. But I see you've made up your mind. Take this. She handed Isabella an old map. This will guide you to the Weeping Springs. And take this as well. She gave Isabella a small silver dagger. Iron and silver can protect you from dark creatures. ## the dangerous plan. Isabella returned to the castle before dawn. She spent the next day preparing for her journey in secret. She packed food, water, warm clothes, and the map Lady Margaret had given her. She wrote a letter to Adrian, explaining where she had gone and why. She would leave it on her pillow so he would find it after she left. That night, she tried to act normal during dinner. Adrian watched her carefully. "You're hiding something," he said quietly. "I can see it in your eyes." Isabella's heart jumped. "What do you mean? You look determined. Like you're planning something." Adrian set down his fork. "Isabella, whatever it is, please be careful." She wanted to tell him, wanted to share her plan, but she was afraid he would try to stop her. "I promise I'll be careful," she said, which wasn't really a lie. Adrian reached across the table and took her hand. His touch was still cold, but not as cold as before. "You've become important to me, Isabella. I didn't think that was possible anymore. But it is. You are." Isabella felt tears in her eyes. "You're important to me too, Adrian." That night, she waited until the castle was silent. Then she took her pack and slipped out into the darkness. She left her letter on the pillow and walked away from Blackwood Castle, toward the dark forest. She didn't see Adrian standing at his window watching her go. She didn't see the worried expression on his face. She didn't know that he had read her letter hours ago, having come to her room to check on her. And she didn't know that he was planning to follow her. ## into the dark forest. The dark forest earned its name. Even during the day, little sunlight reached the ground. The trees grew so thick and tall that they blocked out the sky. Strange sounds echoed through the darkness. Howls and whispers and sounds that might have been crying. Isabella walked for hours, following Lady Margaret's map. Her feet hurt. Her legs were tired. But she kept going. On the second day, she realized she wasn't alone. Something was following her. She could hear footsteps behind her, always staying just out of sight. When she stopped, the footsteps stopped. When she walked faster, they walked faster too. "Who's there?" Isabella called out, her hand on the silver dagger. A figure stepped out from behind a tree. Isabella gasped in shock and anger. It was Elena. "Hello, little sister," Elena said with a cold smile. "Did you really think you could sneak off on a secret quest without me finding out? How did you know?" Isabella demanded. "I have my ways," Elena replied. "I've been watching the castle. I saw you meet with Lady Margaret. I know about the moonstone crystal." "Then you know I'm trying to save Adrian," Isabella said. "Why are you here?" "To stop me." Elena laughed. "Stop you?" "No, dear sister. I want you to succeed." Isabella frowned in confusion. "What?" "You see, I've learned something interesting," Elena said, walking closer. "If the curse is broken, Adrian will regain control of all his emotions, including his anger, including his desire for revenge. And who do you think he'll blame for his 5 years of suffering?" Understanding dawned on Isabella like cold water. "You want him to hate you. You want him focused on revenge so he has no time for anything else." "Exactly," Elena said. "And while he's busy being angry, while he's lost in thoughts of revenge and justice, I'll be busy taking everything he owns." "What are you talking about?" Isabella asked. Elena pulled out a document from her coat. "Do you remember Father's debt to Adrian? The one that forced you into this marriage? Well, I've discovered that Adrian never actually filed the marriage contract with the royal court, which means legally you're not really married. And if you're not married, Father's debt is still unpaid, which means I can claim it." "That's ridiculous," Isabella said. "Adrian would never allow that." "Adrian won't have a choice," Elena replied smugly. "I've already forged documents showing that Father paid his debt in full years ago." With Adrian distracted by his newly returned emotions, by the time he realizes what I've done, Blackwood Castle and all his fortune will be mine. Isabella felt rage burn through her. "You're evil, Elena. Truly evil." "I'm practical," Elena corrected. "Now you go ahead and break that curse. Save your precious Duke." Give him back his feelings. And watch as everything falls apart anyway. She turned and walked back into the forest, disappearing into the shadows. ## the Weeping Springs. Isabella's hand shook as she continued her journey. Elena's words echoed in her mind. Could her sister really steal everything from Adrian? Was breaking the curse actually going to make things worse? No. She refused to believe that. Adrian deserved to feel alive again no matter what came after. They would deal with Elena together. On the third day, Isabella reached the Weeping Springs. The map had been accurate. She found a cave entrance hidden behind a waterfall. The water made a sound like crying, which explained the name. Isabella took a deep breath and entered the cave. Inside, the walls glowed with a soft blue light. Beautiful crystals grew from the ceiling and walls, sparkling like stars. At the center of the cave was a pool of clear water, and rising from the water was a pedestal of stone. On the pedestal sat the moonstone crystal. It was the most beautiful thing Isabella had ever seen. The size of her fist, it glowed with silver light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. She could feel its power from across the cave. Isabella walked forward carefully, watching for traps or dangers. But nothing stopped her. She reached the pedestal and picked up the crystal. It was warm in her hands and surprisingly light. "I have it," she whispered. "I can save him." She turned to leave and froze in terror. Blocking the cave entrance was a massive creature. It looked like a wolf but much bigger, with red eyes and black fur that seemed to absorb light. A shadow wolf from the old stories. One of the dark creatures that guarded the forest's magic. The creature growled, a sound that shook the cave walls. ## the Guardian's Test. "Please," Isabella said, her voice trembling. "I need to leave. I need to save someone." The shadow wolf tilted its head, studying her. Then, to Isabella's shock, it spoke. Its voice was deep and ancient. "Many come seeking the moonstone," it said. "Most come for selfish reasons. Power. Revenge. Greed. Why do you seek it?" "To break a curse," Isabella answered honestly. "To save a man who's suffered for 5 years because of someone else's cruelty." "This man," the wolf said slowly. "Do you love him?" Isabella hesitated. Did she love Adrian? She barely knew him. But she cared about him deeply. She thought about him constantly. She wanted him to be happy, to feel alive again. Wasn't that love? "Yes," she said firmly. "I love him." "Love is sacrifice," the wolf said. "The curse can only be broken if you sacrifice what you value most. What will you give up?" Isabella thought about what she valued most. Her freedom. She had already given that up when she married Adrian. Her family. Elena had destroyed that. Her safety. She had risked that by coming here. Then she understood. What she valued most was her hope for a normal life. Her dream of someday being free from all this magic and curses and darkness. If she broke Adrian's curse, she would be bound to this magical world forever. There would be no going back to simple, ordinary life. "I give up my dreams of a normal life," Isabella said. "I accept that I'll never be ordinary again. I accept whatever comes with loving Adrian and breaking his curse." The shadow wolf studied her for a long moment. Then it stepped aside. "You have a true heart," it said. "Go. Save your duke. But know this. Breaking his curse is only the beginning. Greater challenges await you both." Isabella ran past the creature and out of the cave, clutching the moonstone crystal to her chest. ## the race against time. Isabella ran through the dark forest as fast as her tired legs could carry her. The full moon would rise in 2 nights. She had to get back to the castle in time. She ran until her lungs burned, until her feet bled in her boots, until she thought she couldn't take another step. And still she ran. On the second day, as she stumbled out of the dark forest, she saw something that made her heart leap. A horse stood tied to a tree with supplies and water. And sitting beside the tree, looking exhausted and worried, was Adrian. "Adrian!" Isabella cried out. He jumped up and ran to her, catching her as her legs finally gave out. "Isabella! Thank God! I've been searching for you for 3 days. How did you find me?" she asked, gasping for breath. "I followed your trail," Adrian said. "I read your letter. I knew where you were going. I couldn't let you face the dark forest alone." He looked at the crystal in her hands. Is that it? The moonstone. Yes, Isabella said. We can break your curse tonight. The moon will be full. Adrian's face was filled with emotion. Not much, not yet, but more than Isabella had ever seen. Worry. Relief. Something that might be hope. You did this for me, he said softly. You risked your life for me. Of course I did, Isabella replied. I told you I would save you. Adrian helped her onto the horse and climbed up behind her. Then let's go home. Together. ## the breaking of the curse. They reached Blackwood Castle as the full moon rose above the towers. Mrs. Thornberry had prepared the ritual room.